That's like building an entire city where everyone, and I mean everyone, drives a Rolls Royce. The Cayman Islands, for example, has lower than 70,000 residents, but it's home to over 100,000 businesses. Developing countries said, hey, we need lower taxes to compete. Ultimate tax-free playground of the world where residents don't pay any personal income tax at all. This isn't about billionaires and CEOs. It's about how tax laws shape the global economy, drive diplomatic tensions, and even influence migration patterns. Today, we're talking taxes.
Think of Switzerland and you might think of fine cheese, luxury chocolate and snow-capped mountains. But you may also think of money.
Yes, I know.
Switzerland has 1 billionaire for every 80,000 people, making it the third most dense billionaire population in the world.
Before you roll your eyes, this isn't a story about your accountant's spreadsheets. No. This is about how tax laws are the secret puppet masters of geopolitics. Billionaires, corporations, and even entire countries are playing a global board of chess. And guess what? The tax code is unfortunately the board. Let's kick things off with a little geography lesson. Countries like Switzerland, Singapore, and the UAE are basically the first-class cabins of the tax world. Low taxes, high luxury. They attract the rich, the powerful, and of course, the corporations. In fact, the UAE is set to welcome 6,700 new millionaires in 2024 alone, making it the world's top destination for the wealthy. That's like building an entire city where everyone, and I mean everyone, drives a Rolls Royce. But then you've got countries like the US and France where taxes are higher and people start looking for exits like they're in a fire drill. These high tax nations lose wealth, talent, and sometimes their patience too. It's a little bit like throwing a party and halfway through everyone sneaks to the other cooler party next door. And you're left footing the bill wondering where it all went wrong. Now here's where it gets juicy.
Swiss residents are also among the richest in the world, with a mean net worth of almost $700,000, ahead of the US and Hong Kong.
Tax havens, yes, those sun-soaked, palm tree-lined paradises where money goes to take a long, indefinite vacation. The Cayman Islands, for example, has lower than 70,000 residents, but it's home to over 100,000 businesses.
Switzerland was home to an estimated 110 billionaires, with a combined wealth of $338 billion. That's like Saudi Arabia, Singapore, and the United Arab Emirates.
That's more companies than people. It's like Silicon Valley, but with better beaches and no corporate tax at all. Can you imagine that?
Among some of the country's wealthiest residents are Chanel co-owner Gerard Wertheimer, the heirs of IKEA creator Ingvar Kamprad, and the founders of homegrown healthcare giant Roche. This means the Swiss aren't getting taxed on the profit they make when selling an asset that's increased in value.
High tax nations aren't too thrilled about this. It's like inviting your neighbors over for dinner and finding out they're eating at the Caymans instead. Enter the OECD, the world's tax referee. In 2021, they dropped a bombshell and a 15% global corporate tax flow. The goal? Stop companies from hopping around like tax dodging frogs. The reality, developing countries said, hey, we need lower taxes to compete, while wealthier nations screamed, stop stealing our revenue. And just like that, we had a global tug of war.
This tiny island nation is smaller than New York City, but it's the wealthiest country in Asia and one of the richest in the world.
Now, Let's talk about billionaires and corporations moving their money and themselves. When Medtronic, a US-based medical company, decided to shift its headquarters to Ireland, it wasn't for the Guinness beer. It was for the 12.5% corporate tax rate, which makes the US rate of 21% look downright expensive.
Finance. Following the lead of places like the US and UK, he liberalized the financial services industry with lighter touch regulation. 4,200 multinational companies have regional headquarters here.
Ireland, by the way, is also home to Apple and Google. Tech giants who figured out that paying less tax means keeping more money, baby.
Low taxes are a big reason for that. Singapore's corporate tax rate is just 17% and can hit 13.5% or lower for some activities.
Who knew math could be so motivating, right? But it's not just companies, it's people. Wealthy individuals are on the move, scouting out tax-friendly destinations like in an episode of House Hunters Global Edition.
He has an escape. See, while every other country is shunning people like him away, there's one place that's welcoming billionaires like him with open arms.
Portugal, for instance, handed out over 10,000 golden visas in 2022, offering tax breaks and sunny beaches to millionaires looking for a change in scenery. And let's not forget Monaco, the ultimate tax-free playground of the world, where residents don't pay any personal income tax at all. The catch? You need to be rich enough to afford a yacht, and probably a backup yacht too.
The only new country to join the list this year is Luxembourg. The tiny European nation, known as a tax haven for some of the world's wealthiest, now has a billionaire citizen of its own in Michael Gans.
Now, let's talk tax immigration.
Among some of the country's wealthiest residents are Chanel co-owner Gerard Wertheimer, the heirs of IKEA creator Ingvar Kamprad, and the founders of homegrown healthcare giant Roche.
Tax migration has some serious consequences.
See, Dubai is the perfect escape from the world's 0.001%. All you have to do to get a visa in the United Arab Emirates is to invest at least $500,000 in real estate.
High tax countries face something called brain drain.
This is Pakistan, one of the most populous nations on earth. And to add to its list of existential challenges, it has a talent crisis.
I've never seen in my 38 years so many people either leaving or wanting to leave.
Skilled professionals and innovators pack their bags for tax havens, leaving these home countries with fewer resources to invest in innovation, healthcare, and infrastructure.
Skilled workers are now leaving in surging numbers, depriving the state of tax revenue it needs to avert national bankruptcy.
Think of this like a talent leak. Every time someone leaves, the home country loses potential and the destination country gains influence. It's soft power but with a calculator. Imagine that. And don't even get me started about the political drama this creates. High tax nations face pressure from voters screaming, "Hey, lower taxes," while trying to balance their budgets. Meanwhile, low tax countries are gaining geopolitical clout. Switzerland, for example, isn't just about cheese and chocolate. It's a global financial powerhouse thanks to its tax policies. And the UAE is not just a desert, it's a magnet. It's a magnet for wealth and power, reshaping the Middle East's role in global economics. But here's the twist. This isn't about billionaires and CEOs. It's about how tax laws shape the global economy, drive diplomatic tensions, and even influence migration patterns.
Russia, UK, India, Hong Kong, Brazil, and other places like the United States.
When countries fight over taxes, it's not just a financial issue, it's a geopolitical one. It's about influence, leverage, and let's face it, bragging rights. So what have we learned today? Taxes aren't just numbers on a piece of paper. They're the puppet strings pulling geopolitics, migration, and the global economy. Love them or hate them, they're shaping our world in ways you never imagined.